Welcome to Midnight Murmurs, where mysteries come alive and darkness unveils its secrets. Join Haruka and the Crimson Lotus as they uncover the haunting truth behind the vengeful spirit in Hikari Village. Prepare for spine-chilling encounters, heart-wrenching choices, and a quest for redemption that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, subscribe, and be part of the Midnight Murmurs community for more thrilling tales of the unknown. Chapter 1: The Haunting at Hikari Village. When Haruka and the Crimson Lotus reached Hikari Village in the early morning, the serene countryside was bathed in a warm glow from the rising sun. The village appeared to be a haven unaffected by the chaos of the outside world, as it was tucked away among gentle hills and tranquil cherry blossom trees. But the oppressive atmosphere that pervaded the location told a different tale. Haruka paused to watch the residents of the village going about their daily activities, their faces etched with worry and fatigue. Their lives were plagued by a dark presence that was just below the surface. She was aware that it was their responsibility as Crimson Lotus members to defend the realm against supernatural dangers, and she noticed that one such danger appeared to be plaguing this village. Haruka noticed a feeling of unity among her allies as they gathered in the village square. They were all expert warriors, each one chosen for their special skills and unwavering commitment. The group's stoic leader, Hiroshi, spoke to them with a steely resolve in his eyes. Hiroshi commanded attention with his voice. "We must discover the cause of these disappearances. The darkness that seeks to engulf this land is finally being fought by us. Keep in mind that it is our responsibility to protect the weak." With her heart racing in anticipation, Haruka nodded. She yearned to live up to the samurai heritage of her family and earn the Crimson Lotus. But above all, she yearned to shield the villagers from the terror that engulfed their minds. Each smaller group was given a location within the village as they dispersed into smaller groups. Aiko, a skilled warrior whose cool demeanor concealed a fierce determination, was assigned to Haruka. They set out together for the suburbs, where disappearances had been most common. As they moved through the deserted streets, the air became oppressively silent. The only sound they could hear was the rustle of leaves under their feet. With her voice barely above a whisper, Aiko turned to face Haruka. "The villagers claim that a vengeful spirit resides here," she said. "According to legend, it seeks retribution for a serious injustice that was committed in the past." Haruka, enthralled by the story, widened her eyes. She had witnessed the ethereal presence of spirits during her training, so she was aware of their power firsthand. But the idea of a furious and vengeful entity made her shudder. Haruka observed the obvious signs of deterioration as they got closer to an ancient shrine. The shrine itself was shrouded in a thick layer of dust, and the once vibrant torii gate was now weathered, its paint peeling. The atmosphere was ominous, adding to the unease that had crept into Haruka's stomach. Aiko moved closer, her hand grazing the moss-covered stone softly. She said, "This shrine holds the key to our investigation. Its long-forgotten secrets could provide insight into the spirit's rage." They walked into the shrine with reverence, their footsteps reverberating through the empty rooms. The room was decorated with old, discolored artwork and artifacts from bygone eras. A battered scroll that was perched on an opulent pedestal caught Haruka's attention. Ancient symbols danced across the delicate parchment as she unrolled it, telling a story of tragedy and betrayal. The relationship between the past and the present became more apparent to Haruka as she read. The disappearances were not an accident, rather, they were a reminder of the suffering that had long ago left this village scarred. The spirit of vengeance sought revenge, its anger fueled by unresolved grudges from the past. A sense of purpose sparked within Haruka as she discussed her research with Aiko. She was aware that they needed to find a solution to calm the spirit and restore harmony to the community. Haruka set out to discover the truth and put an end to the cycle of suffering with Aiko by her side. Together, they would confront the vengeful spirit's fury and put an end to the long-forgotten tragedy that had plagued the community for decades. Chapter 2: Unearthed Secrets. As she and the other members of the Crimson Lotus dug deeper into the troubled past of Hikari Village, Haruka's heart beat faster with anticipation. It was now time to unearth the truth buried within the village's long-forgotten secrets after they had made a connection between the mysterious disappearances and a tragic past occurrence. Together, Haruka and her companions traveled to the village archives, a dusty, dimly lit space containing stacks of aged books and scrolls. The story of Hikari Village started to come to life in front of their eyes as they thumbed through the fragile pages, their fingers tracing the faded ink. A particularly old scroll with delicate, frayed edges caught Haruka's attention. She carefully unfolded it and began to read the words written in beautiful calligraphy. It recalled a time when the village was prosperous and its residents coexisted peacefully with nature. But a deep sorrow had crept up beneath the serene exterior. The scroll described the tragedy of Michiko, a young woman whose life had been ruined by betrayal and heartache. She had been madly in love with a samurai, but their illicit relationship had destroyed everything. They were torn apart and sentenced to a lifetime of suffering after the village elders intervened out of fear for the consequences of their union. Haruka's heart ached as she thought about the suffering Michiko must have gone through. The shattered dreams and the forbidden love mirrored the vengeful spirit's own tragic story. The puzzle's pieces were beginning to fit together, weaving the past and the present together in an eerie dance. Haruka, eager to learn more, asked the village elder, an old man with a long white beard and wise eyes, for advice. Takeshi was his name, and he had been present during the incidents that had left Hikari Village scarred all those years prior. Under the cover of a massive cherry blossom tree, Takeshi sat with the Crimson Lotus members. Because of the burden of his memories, his voice trembled. Takeshi began, his voice heaving with regret. "I remember Michiko. Her love was unwavering, and her spirit was pure. But the village elders believed they were defending it because they were so terrified. They had no idea that their actions would plant the seeds of evil." Takeshi revealed the illegal ritual that was carried out to break the bond between Michiko and her samurai lover. An intensely sad and desperate ceremony was held in which strong spirits were called upon to permanently split the two souls apart. Haruka focused intently as she listened, her thoughts buzzing with ideas. They might be able to find a way to undo the suffering that persisted in the village and placate the vengeful spirit if they could trace the ritual's steps. The Crimson Lotus set out on a mission to find the artifacts and information required to reenact the historic ritual. They studied the mystical arts, went to holy places, and asked mystics for advice. While her allies studied occult texts and deciphered cryptic symbols and incantations, Haruka sharpened her abilities, her sword dancing with an elegant precision. As they gathered the elements for the ritual, days turned into weeks. With each passing second, Haruka's resolve to mend the wounds of the past and bring peace to Hikari Village grew stronger. A sense of solemnity descended upon the Crimson Lotus as they gathered in a remote clearing under the light of the full moon. Hope and apprehension were mixed together in the air as it fizzed with anticipation. Haruka held the ancient scroll firmly in her hands, tracing the words with her fingers as she invoked Michiko's ghost. The ritual, a deft balancing act of magic and physical action, came into being under Takeshi's direction. The group moved together, smoothly and precisely. As she completed the ritual's last steps, Haruka's heart raced with excitement and fear. Her sword gleamed in the moonlight. The ritual was finished with a flash of light and energy. The past had been healed, and the village now exuded a fresh sense of tranquility and harmony. Haruka was confident that as a member of the Order, she had discovered her true calling as the Crimson Lotus had completed their mission. Knowing that she had contributed to a positive change in the world filled her with pride and fulfillment. There would always be more to do as she surveyed the tranquil village, but she was prepared to meet any obstacles that might arise. Haruka felt a strong sense of purpose and knew she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Chapter 3: The Spirit's Demands. Haruka and the Crimson Lotus prepared to carry out the ritual that would enable them to communicate with the vengeful spirit as the moon rose to its highest point, casting an ethereal glow over Hikari Village. They gathered in the village's holy place, which had old walls covered in faded tapestries showing scenes from the past. The group gathered around a ceremonial altar that was decorated with incense and delicate flower offerings as the shrine hummed with otherworldly energy. Haruka sensed a wave of anxiety and anticipation rushing through her body. The opportunity to comprehend the spirit's rage and calm its tormented soul was now available. Hiroshi guided the group with his unwavering resolve and steady gaze. His voice resounded throughout the sacred space, calling forth powerful, ancient words that stirred the spirits of the landscape. Haruka's heart was thumping in her chest as the energy in the air crackled. A misty veil appeared in front of them, swirling and condensing into a spectral figure, sending chills up her spine. The spirit of vengeance had responded to their call. Its ethereal form gave off a discernible aura of wrath, and its eyes burned with an otherworldly fire. The spirit's voice echoed, filled with pain and rage, "Who dares disturb my eternal rest?" Despite the trembling in her hands, Haruka stepped forward and spoke clearly. She said, her eyes locking with the spirit's, "We have come to listen, to understand your grievances, and to find a path towards peace." For a split second, the spirit's rage appeared to give way to curiosity. "You want to comprehend?" "Quite well. but be aware that I am not easily amenable." The ghost cast past events that played out like tragic memories onto the shrine's walls with a flick of its spectral hand. Silently, Haruka and her companions observed the suffering and betrayal that had consumed the spirit both in this life and the next. The spirit's voice resounded throughout the chamber as the images vanished. "You have to deal with the root of my suffering if you want to bring harmony to this land. Find the family members of the people who hurt me and bring them to justice." Haruka's mood dimmed. The requirements of the spirit were complicated. They forced her to confront the repercussions of earlier wrongdoings and delve into the village's most sinister secrets. She had a lot of decision-making to do. The Crimson Lotus argued vehemently, their voices resonating in the sacred space. While some claimed that seeking revenge would only prolong the cycle of suffering, others insisted that justice must be done. Haruka struggled with her own uncertainties and conflicting feelings as she listened, taking in her comrades' perspectives. Eventually, Haruka developed a calm resolve. She was aware that seeking retribution would not lead to lasting peace in the community. She suggested an alternative course of action, a course of comprehension, pardon, and redemption. With a voice full of resolve, Haruka declared, "We will not continue the cycle of pain. Rather than seeking retribution, we will confront the descendants in order to bring about a reconciliation that will release this land from the grip of darkness." In the face of the spirit's wrath, her words hung in the air like a frail hope. The other Crimson Lotus members exchanged glances with mixed expressions of admiration and concern. With confidence in his voice, Hiroshi moved forward. "Haruka, you are walking a wise and compassionate path. We are prepared to meet the upcoming challenges as we stand by your side." Haruka nodded, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Even though she was aware of how challenging the road ahead would be, having her allies by her side gave her renewed vigor. They would establish a new era of peace and harmony for their nation by working together. Chapter 4: Trial of Shadows. At the entrance to the Trial of Shadows, an ominous room shrouded in eerie darkness, Haruka stood. There was a palpable sense of dread and anticipation in the air. The Crimson Lotus surrounded her, their resolve unwavering and their eyes filled with a mix of concern and resolve. The mood changed as soon as they entered the dimly lit space. Along the walls, shadows danced, bending and twisting as if they were alive. Haruka's heart was thumping as she tightened her hold on her sword. She was aware that this trial would put their loyalty and fortitude to the ultimate test. A spectral apparition with a contorted and deformed form stood in front of them as their first test. With otherworldly speed, it lunged at Haruka, its claw-like hands reaching for her throat. She parried the attack quickly, her blade slicing through the ethereal force. The conflict continued as the apparition moved fluidly and evasively, seemingly existing in two different worlds. Every time Haruka tried to score, she fell short, and her frustration grew. She could feel the pressure of uncertainty pressing down on her, threatening to crush her spirit. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed her fellow combatants standing next to her. She felt inspired by their unwavering support, which fueled her resolve. In this trial, she wasn't acting alone. Haruka refocused and used her energy to move with grace and precision through the ghostly attacks. She anticipated the apparition's movements and took advantage of its fleeting weaknesses. Each piercing blow she delivered brought them one step closer to victory. The apparition screamed in agony before vanishing into nothing, leaving only a faint echo of its presence. Haruka's body was thumping with adrenaline as her breath came in ragged gasps. A silent acknowledgement of their shared victory over adversity passed between her and her companions as she cast a quick glance their way. But the shadow trial was far from over. The space changed, revealing the following obstacle: a confusing maze with intricately decorated walls and shifting shadows. Haruka studied the intricate patterns, her thoughts racing to figure out what they meant. With each step deeper into the maze, they explored the uncharted territory. Their route wound and turned, a labyrinth made to befuddle and confuse. As doubts nagged at Haruka, her heart pounded. Would they ever manage to escape? A flash of recognition then appeared in Haruka's eyes. She thought back to a passage from their research, a nugget of information that might provide the solution to escaping the maze. She imparted her knowledge to her friends, and their combined wisdom came together to create a map of understanding. The Crimson Lotus continued with a renewed sense of purpose, their willpower guiding them through the complex turns of the labyrinth. They revealed the illusion that had kept them imprisoned as they gradually revealed the secrets of the maze. They eventually came out into a moonlit courtyard, its serene beauty a sharp contrast to the difficulties they had encountered. Here, something about the air seemed different, as if it were infused with a deep peace. Haruka cast a quick glance around her before focusing on the vengeful spirit who was watching them closely from a distance. The voice of the spirit resounded throughout the courtyard and carried a mix of surprise and reluctant admiration. "You went above and beyond what I expected. Your tenacity and cohesion are admirable." Haruka responded in a calm, firm voice, "We won't let fear or darkness get the better of us. Our shared goal of bringing this land to peace and healing its suffering binds us together." The spirit looked at them for a moment before acknowledging them with a nod. "Quite well. I'll let go of this location so you can carry on with your journey. But keep in mind that the road ahead won't be simple. Your resolve will be put to the test as you deal with obstacles and temptations. You might still succeed if you stay true to your goals." The spirit disappeared after saying those words, leaving the Crimson Lotus to enjoy the moonlight and the prospect of a better future. Chapter 5: The Ties That Bind. Standing outside of Hikari village, Haruka fixed her gaze on the serene surroundings. Rolling hills and glistening streams were given a golden hue by the sun, hiding the darkness that lurked below. She could sense the vengeful spirit's weighty presence and its agonized aura permeating the space. Inside of Haruka, her heart was roiled by conflicting feelings. The connections she had with the vengeful spirit were revealed as a result of the truth she had discovered unraveling the tapestry of her own past. She knew she had to face her own inner demons as well as the spirit as she got ready to face it. The walk through the village had uncovered pieces of a tragic past, a story of love and loss, betrayal and suffering. Haruka's thoughts returned to the discolored photos and journal entries she had found, each piece of the puzzle helping to piece together the tale of a family torn apart by despondency. In the sacred grove, where nature spoke its age-old wisdom, she sought solace. The tall trees' branches swayed in a gentle rhythm, whispering tales of earlier eras. In order to confront the spirit and carve a path to redemption, Haruka sought clarity in this place. She closed her eyes, and images of a mother's lullaby, a distant echo of laughter, and the comfort of a hand around her own flooded her mind. Realizing that the spirit's tragedy had become entangled with her own haunted and fueled her resolve. The Crimson Lotus, Haruka's allies, came up to her with a mixture of resolve and worry. They had grown to be her dependable friends, and their own journeys had become entwined with hers. Their silent support was a sign of their shared purpose because their eyes revealed her own struggles. Sora, the mysterious mage, said softly, "We stand with you, Haruka. Our destinies are linked. We will defeat the spirit and restore peace to this nation by working together." With a glimmer of resolve in her eyes, Haruka nodded. The sorrow of the village seemed to seep into their bones with each step they took, serving as a constant reminder of the burden they carried. They arrived at the site of the spirit's suffering, an ancient shrine, by following the path. Shadows danced on the moss-covered stones inside the shrine, creating unsettling silhouettes on the walls. Unresolved grief's energy erupted in the air. As she stared at the apparition of the vengeful spirit, its form warped and twisted, Haruka's heart raced. The room was filled with the voices' sorrowful and yearning echoes. "Haruka, why have you come? Can you grasp the magnitude of my suffering?" Haruka looked into the spirit's eyes with a mixture of empathy and resolve. "I can relate to your suffering because it is woven into mine. But we must not allow our suffering to overcome us. We must figure out how to get better and find peace." The spirit's shape appeared to be considering what she had to say. "Do you really think that there is hope for redemption? Is it possible to heal past wounds?" Haruka spoke with conviction in her voice. "I firmly believe that even the most horrific tragedies can be transcended by love and forgiveness. We can end the cycle of suffering by working together." The ethereal figure of the spirit flickered, its expression changing from rage to thought. "I have seen people at their most hopeless, but maybe there is still hope. Show me the way to salvation, please." With her hands outstretched and her eyes full of sympathy, Haruka said, "Please join us, Spirit. Let us lead you to the light, where there is peace and healing." Initially hesitant, the spirit eventually extended a hand to take Haruka's. Together, they took steps in the direction of a better future, putting the scars of the past behind them and acknowledging the strength of love and forgiveness. Chapter 6: Crimson Redemption. Haruka and the Crimson Lotus stared at the impending final battle, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and excitement. The vengeful spirit's wrath was palpable as it manifested in the center of Hikari village, sending a volatile energy crackling through the air. The once calm streets now bore the scars of its wrath, with the sky covered in a thick haze of darkness and the buildings reduced to rubble. Haruka's knuckles turned white as her fingers tightened around the hilt of her sword. Her journey had forced her to confront her worst fears, her past insecurities intertwined with the vengeful spirit's suffering. She was aware that she had to face both her personal demons and the spirit in order to bring about peace in the land. The Crimson Lotus was standing by her side, looking intently into the distance. The air shimmered with a shield of protective magic as Sora, the mysterious mage, channeled ancient incantations. The stoic warrior Kenshiro tightened his hold on his weapon as he prepared to defend their cause. The quick-drawing archer Rin notched an arrow as her hawk-like eyes carefully scanned the battlefield. They moved forward as a group, putting up a united front against the vengeful spirit's assault. The angry voice of the spirit resonated through the space, a symphony of rage and grief. "You dare challenge me? I refuse to be kept silent. This village will pay a price for its wrongdoing." Firm and unwavering, Haruka's voice cut through the commotion. "We want to comprehend your suffering rather than to outweak you. Let's find a way to be forgiven and mend the scars that bind us." The spirit's shape flittered, its eyes growing more narrow. Redemption? Such ideas are outdated at this point. Too long has passed while the pain persisted. Haruka looked up into the spirit's eyes as she spoke with compassion. "Pain can make us blind, but it need not make us who we are. We can find a new way forward and end the cycle of suffering by working together." The spirit's fury ebbed and flowed, its ethereal form pulsing with unease. "How are you able to discuss such things? You are unaware of the suffering I have gone through." Haruka moved in with compassionate eyes as she took a step closer. "Although I may not fully understand your suffering, I can relate to the despair you feel. We've all endured heartbreak, betrayal, and loss. But we also have the ability to forgive and to heal." The air was silent for a brief period, as though the spirit was thinking about what Haruka had said. A glimmer of its true form, a tortured soul seeking solace, began to emerge as the darkness that had surrounded it slowly started to fade. Sora moved forward while speaking in a soothing, calm manner. "Let us assist you in achieving tranquility. Together, we can create a brand new future that is unrestricted by resentment and pain." The spirit's voice had a faint undertone of vulnerability, and its gaze had softened. "Can one truly find redemption? Can the past's wounds be healed?" With hope in her heart, Haruka reached out her hand. "It can, indeed. We have witnessed both the ability to change and the strength of forgiveness. Accept the light you possess, and allow us to lead you toward redemption." The spirit hesitatingly took on an ethereal form that flickered. Then, with a firm nod, it extended and took Haruka's hand in its own, intertwining their fingers. They were all surrounded by a radiant glow as the darkness vanished. As the light grew, the damage around them started to mend, with torn-down structures being rebuilt and scarred landscapes being restored. Although it moved slowly, the process was full of hope and potential. Yes, it is possible to truly find redemption and to mend past wounds. Although it might take some time, effort, and forgivingness, it is possible. We can triumph over even the darkest of circumstances with the help of other people and our own inner light, emerging more forgiving, resilient, and strong than ever. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey through the shadows. If you enjoyed Haruka's quest and the Crimson Lotus battle against the vengeful spirit, make sure to subscribe to Midnight Murmurs for more gripping adventures, spine-tingling mysteries, and immersive storytelling. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our community, where the darkness comes alive and the secrets unfold. Don't forget to leave a like and comment to let us know your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the realms of Midnight Murmurs.